Leave your comments on the Ask Reddit sub, and I'll read your answers on the next episode of LWIAR. What do most people not realize is newer than they actually think? I think the Incas, Aztecs, and Mayans in general are all more recent than most people realize. A lot of people think that Incas, Mayans, and Aztecs are different names for the same group of people. Edit. Who TF felt guilty about not knowing the difference and gave me silver. Edit 2. Very funny, good job. Edit 3. Brew. I feel very called out by this entire thread. My best friend for school was Bolivian. 1 month his grandmother came to visit. She only spoke Quechua, and liked to talk to me a lot. To this day I have no idea what she told me. I lived in Bolivia for 2 years. Loved it. Picked up Spanish pretty quick. But Quechua is another beast entirely. I still remember how to say, no money, though haha. Mana canchu kolk. About the only other thing I learned was Amanaya Katinki. It should be noted I don't really know how to spell these phrases. It's my best guess, which if I recall meant, how are you? Quote. Makes sense, it's how I build houses in The Sims. I just realized that I never build hallways on the first floor. All the rooms just connect to the living room and kitchen, dining area. I usually have a landing on the second floor because the stairs take up so much room. But never a legit hallway. I grew up in a early 20th century house with no hallways. So that's probably where that came from. You lived in a pre-19th century house. That's pretty cool. Edit. You people are so damn lucky. I'm mostly surrounded by tract homes and identical condos. Yep, it's odd seeing an old house where you have to pass through a bedroom to get to another room. Just doesn't seem right. My younger brother and I had to go through my big brother's room. The fear of enter and crossing was palpable. We would make game plans to distract or bargain our way safely through. Often, I would sleep in the living room for fear of whatever weird booby trap awaited me. Draftsman's impression of what you two described. This one blew my mind. Not as crazy if you think about it. People didn't need a 401k. Pensions were a common thing back then. I actually remember when the company I worked for sent out the notice that the pension plan was being eliminated and replaced by a 401k plan. So I'm literally the bridge generation. I will have both a small pension and a 401k. A bunch of boomers and essentially pre-boomers have retired with 401 kiloseconds plus pensions. They made bank. One of the reasons USPS is such a big employer of veterans is because you can do 20 years in there. Military, retire with your pension, then do 20 years at the post office and get pension there, too, by the time you're 60. But don't you have to spend 20 years in the military and 20 years at the post office? Hey, that's how I picked my username. Similar story, but well, never mind. So the phrase tear that butt up originated during Splinter TP era, then. Thanks for reminding me I need to buy some lube. One reason the Sears catalog became so popular. After you ordered everything you needed from it, you hung it by a string in the outhouse. Yeah, my family in Kentucky always talk about how much it sucked having to go outside to use the bathroom at night and how disappointed they were when the Sears catalog changed to glossy paper. Farmers' almanacs still use the same paper for this purpose. You don't remember the Great TP Famine of 2020? How quick people are to forget. High fives date from 1977. Fun fact, me and my wife, then girlfriend, are demonstrating the too slow high five on the Wikipedia high five page. en.m.wikipedia.org. Under variations. With finger guns, tears of joy, tears of joy. Thank you, Dusty Baker. I mean, is there any reason to believe they weren't? How could we be sure no other culture in human history used to clap hands together? Maybe the modern widespread popularity can be traced to 1977, but it's not like nobody else would have considered a gesture like that. Specifically doing it and calling it a high five comes from 1977. Because a gay player was uncomfortable with butt slaps. Is this really true, pal? Slap butt. I said no, Rafi, no slap us. Picasso's death, 1973. I'm sure Dali's art always seemed timeless to me. So when I was finally aware of their dates, usually in the 30s and 40s, I was surprised. They feel so modern. One can only imagine how vibrant and cutting-edge they were back in the day. What are you talking about, timeless? There's clocks everywhere. Something that blows my mind, Picasso could have seen the Godfather movie. In theory, J.R.R. Tolkien and Helen Keller could have watched the first Planet of the Apes together. I mean, watch may be the wrong verb to use with Keller, but you get what I'm trying to say. He actually did, and sort of reviewed it. Let me find the link. Their faces are too normal, even the ones that got shot in the head. 2/5 stars, Picasso. www.picassothoughts.gov.www, Picasso Thoughts. Reminds me, Charlie Chaplin died in 1977. Same year they invented the high five apparently. Must have been a wild year. High five overdose. Which raises an important question. What did Charlie Chaplin think of Star Wars, if he saw it? And me too, cause I was born in August that year. Doubt he was in Albany, New York around then, though. The theory of plate tectonics. It pretty much makes up the entire backbone of modern geology. Yet it wasn't actually accepted until the 1960s. Alfred Wegener proposed his theory of continental drift in 1915 but couldn't explain the mechanism behind it, so his theory was dismissed. Over the next few decades, the evidence of crustal movement became undeniable and plate tectonics developed as a theory. It's just crazy to me that geologists were pretty much completely clueless until around 60 years ago. Not just earth-shattering, groundbreaking. Now whose fault was that? I'm about your age and I remember being told in school that nobody knows how the dinosaurs died out. I said yeah they do. It was an asteroid impact. The teacher rolled her eyes and said, yeah I saw Jurassic Park 2, or something. I hated that teacher so much. I'm 26 and remember being told, nobody knows for sure, in elementary school. One of the neat things is it's so massive that we can see it just in a gravity map. en.wikipedia.org. Antibiotics. People in the generation of your grandparents could have died from stubbing a toe. Ah crap. Here we go again. What a terrifying thought, lol. Not just a thought. Bacteria is a living thing that evolves. It's slowly getting more resistant as we speak. And eventually antibiotics won't work. But we might have salvation in the form of phages. Salvation in the form of phages largely due to research done by the Soviet Union. Phage therapy is still used pretty widely in former Soviet countries. Only reason why that's true is that you can't patent the phage solution. As a result, the communist Soviet nations were the only ones to actually put money into R&D. At the time, antibiotics seemed to be the best and most reliable way to deal with diseases. Of course nowadays, we now know about antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Sadly this is true. My previous university, UCSD, is one of the only institutions in the US to invest in phage research. The program is dubbed IPATH and was the first to receive FDA approval and treat someone with phages. If I am correct, I attended there because I major in microbiology and plan to specify in virology and want to work with phage research someday. Too bad UCSD cost a fortune for non-residents. Almost $60,000 living on campus. And makes it basically impossible to become a resident, so I had to transfer back to my home state. Yay for capitalism, am I right? I have in my possession an astronomy textbook from the 1890s. It states plainly that the sun is made of fire, and goes out of its way to mention a scientist who believes the interior of the sun could be a Garden of Eden type paradise. Freaking blew my mind. The sun is a miasma of incandescent plasma. I remember when they had to change the song lol. Only during the day. New Zealand. Its indigenous population only arrived there about 800 years ago, despite Australia just across the Tasman having been inhabited for 75,000 plus years. History class in New Zealand is really boring. We learn the same history year after year because there isn't a lot of it. Probably because the maps didn't have NZ back then. Many still don't. What hit me the other day? Germany. It was only reunified 30 years ago. Yep, I saw West Germany on my birth certificate last month and felt like some ancient crone. When you're filling up forms or documents that require you to state your place of birth, do you still write West Germany or just Germany? I remember reading Brave New World, which was written before this discovery, and I recall they poisoned the embryos that would become deltas and epsilons with alcohol, in order to induce retardation and create the very most pliable citizens. Was this something people had a hunch about? Did people know little Billy was strange because his mom was wasted the whole time she was pregnant? Or was that just one hell of a guess by Aldous Huxley? Edit. I'm dumb. Obviously soaking test tube embryos, or fetuses, I forget how developed they were, in a known poison is totally different than knowing for certain that poison passed through their placental barrier. I'm old enough to remember black and white televisions still being commonplace, and remember when remote controls were brand new technology. Next. Oh wait, go back. Nope, next. And the early ones were wired and had 2 buttons that clicked. Hence clicker. Actually, the term clicker came slightly later, from a non-wired remote control. When you pushed a button, it clicked, striking an aluminum bar that gave off a certain frequency. The receiver would then interpret that sound, and change the channel. My grandma had a TV that would change channels if you clapped loudly. This comment right here, officer. Astronomer here. Recent research has shown that Saturn's rings are less than 100 million years old or so, which is pretty crazy when you realize the solar system formed about 4.5 billion years ago. For context, sharks have been around 4 times longer than Saturn's rings, which is amazing to think about. We know this by the way from recent Cassini data relating to the mass in the rings and the amount of dust versus ice in them all indicate they are definitely less than a few hundred million years old, and definitely haven't been around since the formation of the solar system or similar. Exactly how they formed is not clear, but it's thought an impact with an icy moon is a good candidate for explaining it. I love this fact by the way, because I love Saturn for the rings. Imagine how boring it would be in comparison without them. Edit. TFW post on Reddit, then go to bed and log in the next morning if you are interested in learning more about Saturn's rings. This Nova episode gets into their formation in a lot more detail. And to answer the most common question, we don't think Earth is going to get rings, but probably did briefly billions of years ago when a Mars-sized object collided with it. Those rings then formed the moon. Finally, if you're interested in an astronomy career path someday, please check out this link. Who says you aren't smart enough? No one is smart enough until they are. Not super new, but the match was invented after the lighter. A Zippo is a small oil lamp, which is a Stone Age technology. A match is a chemistry project. Indeed. Belgium is younger than the United States. The colors used to alternate each election, but the extended discussion of red states and blue states during the month-long debacle in 2000 cemented it in people's minds. Sports brass. They were only invented in the late 70s. I for one am thankful for that. Underwire sucks. Ha, that's the best misread I've seen in a while. I love it. Meanwhile, sharks are older than trees. Imagine panicking for whatever reason and then trying to read a number and dial the phone. Bonus points if it was a rotary phone, like I can picture it being dark and a burglar breaks in. Last thing you want to do is turn on the light so you can read the damn number near the phone. Thanks for watching LWIAR. The best of recent r/AskReddit submissions and comments. If you like this video, check out LWIAR too, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.